the Tuesday, January 26th, 2021 meeting of the Parks Advisory Commission to order at 4:04 p.m. This meeting is being held electronically to protect public health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus and to comply with orders issued by the governor, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Washtenaw County Health Department. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call toll-free 877-853-5247 or 888-788-0099 and enter meeting ID 918-3205-5752. This information is also available on the published agenda, in the public notices section of the city website, and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at www.a2gov.org/watchctn. Colin, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Apple. Commissioner Borgsdorf.
Here.
Commissioner Kraut. Commissioner Ramaswamy. I thought I saw her a minute ago, but
She was here a minute ago.
yeah. Commissioner Skylas.
Here.
Commissioner London.
Here.
Commissioner Morrison.
Here.
Commissioner Marson.
Here.
And Commissioner Smith, welcome.
Thank you. Here.
And Councilmember Grant and Councilmember Hayner are both here. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Colin. So while we have almost everyone here, I just want to take a moment to welcome Patty Smith. She is our newest PAC member, representing the Recreation Advisory Commission. Yep. So if you remember, Ruth was in that role, and Patty is taking that role on now. So welcome, Patty. And we'll hear from Patty during her report later on in the agenda. Item 3 is approval of the agenda, which you have hopefully before you, was sent out ahead of time. There's one item I would like to add under commission proposed business. I'd like to add item 9C, which is a discussion to extend the time for the Winchell Park renaming subcommittee. So currently the subcommittee in the resolution was set to expire February 3rd. So we'd like to extend that for 6 months. So I'd like to discuss that. Item 9C, commission proposed business. Are there any other additions or corrections to the agenda? Councilmember Hayner.
I just wanted to get a couple minutes at some point, maybe under new business, to just mention a few things that residents have reached out to me about that may or may not brush up against parks. New ideas for parks, and also what maybe 9C is a place to talk about it, because somebody had some suggestions for parks renaming, and so I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. So Colin, should we make that 9D?
Yeah, I'll be brief.
Or...
Yeah, let's just add it on to 9C if it has to do with naming and,
okay.
And yeah, I think that's fine.
We'll include that then. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 4, our first public comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to speak to PAC, you're welcome to do so. Kristen, do we have any callers today?
No callers.
Okay, thank you. Item 5 is approval of the minutes from our December 15th, 2020 PAC meeting. Those were also included in your packet. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes or a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Okay, motion by Lauren, seconded by Ann.
Second.
Oh, sorry, Rachel, I'll get to you next time.
Sorry, Ann.
Motion by Lauren, seconded by Ann. Any further discussion regarding the minutes? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved. Moving on to item 6, presentations. Colin has for us the FY 22 and 23 budget preparation update.
Let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen here. And oh. Okay, is that working? Okay. Yeah, so I wanted just to share today, I wanted just to provide an update as we kind of start the budget preparation for FY 22 and 23. This is just kind of a timeline for the process. I actually shared with PAC at the December meeting that we had the reduction, 5% for the general fund was announced. And we learned about that just kind of before the holidays. That 5% for parks amounts to about $459,000. So today, what I want to do is just share what I'll call the draft impacts as to how staff has kind of arrived at a way to get to that number and share them with you today. There isn't any action that PAC needs to take today. But I did want to share these with you before they go on to council, which will happen in a week or two. And city council will hear from all the city departments that have general fund and understand kind of the impacts that all of the departments will be providing. And then it'll be up to council, I think, to provide feedback to kind of the administrator as to how the proposed budget looks. That will come actually back to PAC in April. That's when you guys usually do, I suppose, the heavy lifting on the budget. That will be the time when you review the administrator's proposed budget and also see all of the information about any proposed increases for fees and such like. Then after April, onto city council in May, and city council approves the administrator's proposed budget with any amendments at the second meeting, usually in May. So that's just kind of the timeline as to where we're at. Let me share just really quickly how we arrive at the target. The target is provided by the finance department to us. You can see kind of on the left in the table here is the FY 21. That's the year that we're in, fiscal year 21. Expenses for the current year is 8.863 million in the general fund. What the finance department does is they look at that expenditure and they say, and they see if we were just to provide the same level of service, the same things that we're doing in FY 21 and FY 22, the expenditure budget would be the $9,185,946. And it is off of that number that the 5% that the target is actually made. So that's where you get the $459,000 that we have, I suppose, the task to try to achieve here. What I'll do is I'll just kind of go over the way it's proposing right to be able to meet that. I'll start with expenditures, and I mean, I'll just actually say at the outset for expenditures, there's not a lot of expenditures available really in the parks in the general fund to cut. We have, over the years, we have seen kind of reductions over probably the last maybe 10 to 15 years. We've had years where we've had significant reductions, other years where it's only 1% or 2%, but it all adds up, and it's kind of gotten to a point where there's not really a whole lot that we can just easily eliminate without it having an impact on the facilities we keep open or the programs that we provide. It's so having said that, I'll actually start by sharing a couple of things that we are proposing to increase in the upcoming budget, starting with increasing the funding at the community centers. This is the contract we have with Community Action Network to oversee the Bryant Community Center and also Northside Community Center. There's a little increase there, which I think is important, understanding that the work that they do is all the more important today. We're also proposing to increase the seasonal staffing at the farmers market of all of our facilities. That is the one which has probably had the biggest impact on how we staff it because of COVID. All of the signage, all of kind of the management of the crowd there has resulted in kind of a need for more seasonal staff in order to provide it safely. We have a little bit of an offset at the senior center. We have a new staff person there who's kind of reworked how to schedule it in such a way that there is a little bit of a decrease for seasonal staffing there. We see a little bit of a decrease in just kind of assorted admin costs. We are proposing an increase for materials and supplies for golf. The reason for this is last year we found one of the few things which was really, really busy were the golf courses. They have been extremely busy, and in order just to keep them stocked with what they need, that is an increase that we're proposing. We are proposing also to eliminate the printed brochure. That's the spring, summer, fall, winter brochure that you see about town for Parks and Rec. We've been kind of talking for a while about moving entirely online for that, for actually both sustainability reasons and also for an expenditure reduction. So this seems like the time to try that. We are also proposing to eliminate supplemental field mowing. This is for areas of parks that we mow weekly instead of every other week, which is the regular mowing cycle. These are small field spaces used by Rec and Ed for their programming. I have actually reached out and spoke to the director there, so she's aware of the fact that this is out here today. And we will certainly work with them to see if there's a way, if they would like to pursue the supplemental mowing, to work with them to make that happen. And then at the bottom, kind of the largest amount for this is actually a reallocation of staff time. So traditionally, recreation facility supervisors, these are the full-time staff that oversee things like the rinks, the pools, the canoe liveries, the golf courses. They have traditionally been entirely funded out of the general fund. But a portion of the work that they do is certainly the maintenance and the operations of the facilities that they're responsible for. And that is eligible for, what am I trying to say? It is eligible for the millage to actually cover that expense. So the Parks and Rec millage covers the maintenance and operation of facilities, which is certainly something that the staff spend a lot of time on. This year for the millage, we're not seeing a reduction in it. We're actually seeing a little bit of an increase in the revenue coming in for that. So we're able to sort of absorb the higher cost in the millage fund. And we're also able to reduce, we have a contracted service with a forestry company to perform the forestry work that is in the parks. It was a contract that came to PAC a couple of years ago. It's a standing contract for up to, I think, $650,000. After a couple of years of experience with that, we believe that we can continue to do the work that we need to do on the forestry side in the parks for in the region of probably 450 to 500,000. So there's room to reallocate some of those funds to cover this kind of addition of staff time in the millage. All in all, you add this up and it's about 112,000 in expense savings towards that overall $459,000 goal. So that means that the majority of it is proposed to be made up through revenue. A lot of these are because fee increases are appropriate. I'll start by saying though that we offer scholarships in the parks. It is something that any Ann Arbor resident who is eligible can qualify for a scholarship. We don't have a limit on the amount that we award. It's based entirely on need. I think that's something that we need to promote more as we head into this coming year. And then as a result of that, the proposal includes fee increases kind of across the board. There's not one area which is targeted, I would say, any more heavily than the others. It's really spread out across the recreation facilities. I won't go over every single kind of detail in this, but as you can see on the bullet points, starting with the pools, we are proposing to increase the daily admission rates to the pools, the swim lessons, the master's swim program, and then have a look either at season pass increases or actually potentially move in more to kind of a punch pass option. All told, those proposals for fee increases would generate roughly $90,000. And I would say for all of these, for the pool and also for the other facilities, we're looking really at between 10 to 20% fee increases. To give an idea as to what that looks like for the swimming pools, we're proposing to increase like the admission fee for the daily pass. So for an adult right now, you would be paying $5. With the fee increase, it would be $6. That's 20% increase there. So at the ice rinks, we're looking to increase the fees for the daily admission and also instructional ice skating programs, again, in that kind of range of the 10 to 15%. On kind of the rental front, this actually covers a number of different facilities, the senior center, the meeting room at Gallup, Cobblestone Farm. So fee increases to these look toward about $36,000. At the golf courses, we're actually proposing to raise the weekend 18 fee. The way the golf fees works a little bit different than some other facilities. We're proposing to raise kind of the highest rate that we have, which is on the weekends, $47 in the morning for 18 holes in a cart. We're proposing to go up to $55. What it allows us to do is this is the time on the weekends there where we are completely at capacity. If the weather is halfway decent, all the tee times are booked through 2 o'clock. So we believe we have some space there to raise the fees and actually not lose any customers. The other part of the golf fees is to actually adjust the projections for revenue. Last year, the golf courses were busier than they have been in many, many, many years. We're not projecting them to be as busy again, but we are projecting them to see kind of a modest increase over what the original kind of budget was. And I think staff are pretty comfortable with that. Moving on to the boat rental fees, that comes out to about $99,000 in potentially more revenue. This is on average, it would be increasing the boat rental fees maybe $2 to $3. And moving on to the market stall fees, this would also be about a 11 to 15% increase, I believe, at the farmers market. Again, that will help to offset a little bit the increase in staff time there. What I will add also for the fees is when we actually come back in April with all of the details of this, you'll see all of the comparative information that we gather that shows how these fees will stack up with other communities near us, other places that offers similar services. Our goal is very much to stay kind of in the middle of that, or even edge toward kind of the less expensive side. And I think that we have room to actually do that. A lot of these fees have not been increased. Actually, all of the ones that we're actually talking about increasing here, they haven't been increased since probably 2015 on average. So it's also, I think it's actually time for some of these to be revisited. And then the last item on there, but I just kind of wanted to highlight anyway, because I like the idea of it a lot, is to have a online store to sell actually merchandise for parks, which you can actually already buy at the canoe liveries, at the golf courses, at the facilities, but it will kind of enable us to offer some merchandise. The way in which we would be proposing to do it is all of the design work is already done in-house. It would be to work with a vendor to have them actually provide on a as needed ordering basis from people. So if you were interested in like a t-shirt or a hat or a coffee cup, whatever it happened to be with either a logo on it or an event that we've had, then the company that we work with would be able to produce that. We wouldn't have to at the outset spend a lot of money actually creating the inventory in the hope that it's sold. This would be kind of in response to demand. So it's a small amount of the overall amount, but I do like the idea of it. And I also think it could be something that actually takes off there. So add that up, and on the revenue side, $347,000. So altogether, the expenses at the 112, the revenue at 347 comes out to a total of 459. So that's kind of where we're at so far. I wanted to share that with you before it gets to council, so you guys had a chance to see it and ask any questions that you may have, as I've been talking for a long time now. So I'll stop.
Thanks, Colin. That was great. And I see that Pravina has her hand raised with a question.
Thank you. This is really great. My question is, now that you're proposing this increase, is there some thought with the team if the minimum wage rate goes up with the new administration, would that be a second ask in maybe a year or two? Because that would be, if it does go to that 15 and does go through, or whatever it comes in our state, that would be quite an increase in our operating costs.
Yes, I appreciate the question. And I have also been thinking about that. I think, as you all know, like the parks has upwards of 400 seasonal staff in the summer. A lot of those are kind of lower minimum wage and up jobs. So for sure, if there's an increase to $15, that would have a significant impact on the parks budget. It would be something I'm sure that the city would look at in totality as to how to approach that, but we would certainly need to come back and have a pretty long conversation about how that would be funded.
Yeah, that's a great question. Councilmember Hayner, I saw your hand raised. And then Laura, you next.
Yeah, thanks for that question. That is a good question. I've actually had residents ask me, why would the city having its own kind of living wage ordinance, why we haven't extended that to the temp employees of the parks? But I think the answer is it would really cost us a lot, if we did that, and it may be done for us, like you say. So I think that was a great question. So did I understand correctly that one of the efforts of kind of having to raise some of these fees, which does seem timely in some of these cases, is so that the scholarship programs can remain in place?
No, the scholarship programs, they exist regardless of the revenue that we generate. It isn't something that we reimburse. It's simply, if you apply for a scholarship, the information that we use is actually from the county, like in terms of kind of the amount per family and all of that. If you qualify, then you're awarded a scholarship, which enables you to get things like a season swim pass and swim lessons and things like that for free. So there's not like a recoup of the value of that.
Oh, okay, so it's really just making room for another kid in the class, sort of thing. Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure. I appreciate that. I think one time our kids did that got a parcel, something for Rec and Ed one time, and it helps. It helps people a lot. So I'm glad we can continue to do that. Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm mute. Lauren, you have a question.
I just wanted to clarify also with these expenses and revenue, and also to Pravina's question earlier, it seems like there won't be staffing changes for this year. Any impact? Oh, there's the puppy for you. Any impact on staffing with the expense reductions and increase in revenue this year?
Yeah, so at least the way in which I'm proposing for now to try to achieve the target, there will not be impacts in terms of layoffs. There will not be impacts in terms of facility closures. I believe, frankly, if there's a way to do this where it is equitable with revenue increases, if we haven't had fee increases for a while on some things, that this would be the preferred route. I know there's no way we can do this that's going to make everybody happy about every single thing. But I think this is probably the best way forward for now.
Steve.
Thanks. I appreciate all the detail. I guess in looking at a budget gap, I'm always tempted that the expenses are the better place to make up the gap.
Mhm.
Although when you mentioned that the revenue, a lot of these increases, the haven't happened since 2015. It makes me think that there's opportunity there. I was a little surprised to see that there's 350,000 potentially there. So that's good to see. I'm kind of curious if the last time we went through any sort of price increases in 2015 or whenever these may have been, did we see fall off in sort of the projections in terms of park usage?
Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate that question. Is it like the short answer is no, we didn't. We try very carefully when we do propose to raise fees to make sure that they're competitive and still affordable. That's why we'll provide the comparative. For example, for the golf course, when we come back with the fees for that, there will be, I imagine, a list of probably 10 to 15 other courses in the area that see how we stack up against that. We never want to price ourselves out of the competition and make ourselves a place that people avoid. I think we managed over the years, I think we have actually managed pretty well when we do increase the fees. They're reasonable and we've not really seen a fall off.
Yeah, I guess my last comment
use.
on this point is just it's easier to cut expenses year after year after year than it is to add to the price year after year after year. And so I'm a little worried that if we up these prices and all these things now, we'll have used that opportunity in case next year's budget is even worse than this year's, for example. And so I just
Sure.
I think we've done a good job to get to where we need to be now, but I'm just, in terms of looking around the bend, I don't know that we'll be able to get 350,000 more in revenue going forward.
No, I think that you're right. And I think it's also part of the reason why. So I'd say there's a handful of reasons why a lot of these haven't been raised since 2015. And one is because there may not have been kind of a need in the budget to do so before then. And then also when you have fees that are $5, if you raise them 3% each year, you come up with these ridiculous numbers that just are kind of manageable in the world that we work in, right? But I think it is a reason why the fees kind of haven't been touched in a while. Understanding that we could look to them now, you're absolutely right. We won't be able to do it again in a year. Usually in the budget cycles, we come forward with a handful of fee increases. I think the last time the main ones were we increased the day camps. They hadn't been touched for 4 or 5 years. And we also increased the rink rental fees, which also hadn't been touched 4 or 5 years. So there are some other things which will come available, I suppose you could say, in the coming years, but it is absolutely correct. This is kind of the larger chunk of it.
Patty, did you have a question?
Yeah. Is this based then on pools opening like in past years, or is there any, probably not, but is there any sense if the pools will be open as in non-pandemic years?
Yeah, so that is also a really good question. On the slide, see if I can go back to the slide. On the projections for the revenue, again, the way that the finance department was looking at this is in the current year, we are in for $4.77 million in the revenue budget. That's not going to happen this year. Everybody knows that the city's been through all sorts of things. Kind of the majority of the facilities aren't open, et cetera. For the projections, they're lower, but not a lot lower. And I think the assumption, at least that finance is working with for now, is that starting July 1 moving forward, when and if things open up again, kind of more for parks, that the revenue will come back. And I mean, I think it's optimistic. It is also what we have seen is when we are able to offer things, people are using it and actually using it pretty heavily. So the way the budget kind of works for us in parks is a lot of the pool revenue, even though the pool, let's see how to explain this best. The majority of the revenue oftentimes comes in before the season. So we'll actually be able to get the FY22 revenue in the spring of 22. I think we'll be okay on the pool side with that, and certainly for camp side, which I have to hope by then is going to be back up and running.
Any other questions or thoughts on the budget right now? So just a reminder on the timeline, this will come back to us in April, right, Colin?
Yes. Yep.
For approval before it goes to council in May.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep, so we will
And
have a chance to review everything and discuss it before it goes to council.
Yeah, and there will be a lot of information in the packet for the April meeting that will go into detail on all the fee proposals and things like that. So hopefully that will address any concerns or questions.
Great. Well, moving on, item 7, reports. Colin, I'm going to hand it right back to you.
Okay. All right. I can talk about something more fun. We're actually, yeah, I can talk about something more fun in that we were actually able to reopen the ice arenas for vets and for Burr in the last couple of weeks. As with everything, the order that came out about it wasn't exactly what anybody thought it was going to be. We didn't think we were going to be able to offer any of the public skate times. We are. The hockey is allowed, but non-contact. So all in all, we are open and there are restrictions in place, but it is being very heavily used. The high schools are at each place and they're hard to work on skating skills and practicing and all of that. Skating lessons are actually taking place at vets, and I was really pretty amazed to hear we've got 7 skating classes going on. They're completely full, so that's 155 people signed up. I think it just shows there's a demand for things when they can be offered safely. There's this kind of a desire by a lot of people anyway to start to do some of these activities again. We also opened up the public skates. We're kind of doing as we did at Fuller Pool in the summer. We're requiring that you register online beforehand, or we can obviously work with you in person, but we prefer online so that we can kind of control the amount of people. We're limiting space to 40. I think we are allowed to have more per the order, but we're starting with 40 because the space to get everybody ready to get out onto the ice is kind of what we're working with most there, to be sure that we continue to maintain like the 6-foot spacing between people and outside of families. But that has also been incredibly well received. Basically, all of the public skate times as they come open are sold out. I understand the weekends are sold out until March. We are actually looking to add more times, and we will continue to add times as possible with staff and availability and all of that. So all in all, very happy with that. And the staff I know that actually run the rinks, they're, I think, very pleased to have some activity going on. It's been a kind of long winter of wait and see and on and off for them. And then the other kind of main update for now are the camps and the pools. Usually we would start to register for day camps in a couple days. Last year we started February 1st. That is not going to be the case this year. I can tell you that staff are spending a lot of time speaking to their colleagues at the state. It's the state that actually, the licenses the day camps, and also the county, because the county oversees the pools. Understanding what all of kind of the restrictions are and the parameters that we need to operate within. It is our goal to offer camps this year. What exactly those are going to look like yet, we don't know. And how many people and where, we don't know. But we're going to be working hard on that over the next month, very much with the hope that we will be able to start to offer registration in, I would say, the month of March. One of the things that we really have to work on, we have a couple of pool camps, and we obviously have 3 swimming pools. Last year for the camps in the summer, one of the things which actually made it kind of impossible to do was if you had a day camp, it had to be kind of the exclusive use of a space. So you couldn't have a camp and a public pool operating out of the same facility. We're trying to understand from the state what exactly that looks like this year. And if that's the case, how we work with that. It could be a case that we have one pool as kind of the camp pool, then have another pool be the swimming pool, have some overlap of times. Odds are it's not going to look like it has looked traditionally, but we're going to work hard to provide camp for as many people as possible, because I know that's a need out there. And we also know the swimming pools were heavily used to the extent that they were allowed to be last year. So even though there's snow outside now, we're working pretty hard on that. And I hope to have more for you in a month on that. And that's it.
All right. Thank you for that report, Colin. That's great.
Yep.
Any questions for Colin or comments on his report? I know in my circle, a lot of people have been asking about the camps. So that was something I had asked Colin to give us an update on, because it's something a lot of other parents are hoping to get more clarity on. So it's good to hear that conversations are happening. Councilmember Grand.
Oh, thanks. Have there been any thoughts to asynchronous day activities when you're thinking about expansion? I don't know with the schools potentially reopening, if that is hard to plan or not plan, but you know, I know that Wednesday is a day that a lot of families are looking for things to do with their kids.
Yeah, well, I know for both kind of the skating and kind of the rinks, I know that we're trying to understand what the schools are doing on the days when we're offering the public skates. And then I think when it comes to the summertime, we're going to look at basically every option that's out there. I do think when it'll be hard to do camp in more than one place. So I think we're most likely going to have to kind of assign a location and kind of go with that, but we'll see. We'll keep all options open.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Ian. Yeah.
I have one. Yeah, I just on behalf of all the teenagers in town, I imagine that this also means that maybe like the schedule for summer hiring will be pushed back a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we are probably going to proceed, maybe not exactly as we always have, but we will be starting pretty soon. So it's kind of staggered. Oftentimes the golf courses start hiring about the end of this month because they'll have people coming back as early as March. Then the liveries kind of begin to hire maybe kind of the next month because they have people coming back in April. The pools are kind of the latest to start, but I think we'll start to post those jobs March, April, and move from there. But we expect to bring people on for sure.
Great. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Colin.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm excited to turn it over to Patty Smith to give us our Recreation Advisory Commission report.
Thank you, Paige. So again, it's great to be here. Very excited. And really, it's just really short, just to remind folks that we are offering a number of free classes for AAPS students, some fee-based preschool-based programs, and then there's quite a few adult enrichment and yoga and Pilates and activity courses. The website, there isn't a chat, but the website is AA Rec Ed Online, and if you just Google it, it's going to pop up. And there's some French classes, there's a movie club. Oh my gosh, there's a ton of stuff. Most of it's online, but a lot of the kids stuff is actually in person outdoors. So just another option for getting outside and doing stuff.
Can you remind us where you get this information?
Sure. It's AA Rec Ed Online.com.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there was the mention about not printing a brochure to save money, and because maybe it's not as needed, but is there any other sort of marketing that gets done so that people are aware of all these programs?
For Rec and Ed, yeah, there's a big social media push because we didn't print the printed brochure either. So I know Jen has really been pushing social media for teacher. I'm a teacher in the district, and telling our families, our students, our friends. So, and one thing I did want to say, please don't quote me on this, but I have heard that even when we do go back in person, that Wednesday is still going to be an asynchronous day. So that's what I've heard. Please.
No, that's true. Sorry.
Yeah, but who knows? So I think it'll still be open.
I'm wondering for both AAPS and also for Reconet, the parks, maybe we can look into QR codes as printed ads, say in the Observer or newspaper, so the people who don't subscribe to online or social media can quickly get a QR code that we can go to our online flyers.
That's a great idea. I will pass it along to Jenna. Thank you.
Patty, do you have any information about Rec and Ed sports for the spring or summer, like soccer, flag football, baseball? Not yet.
Not yet. No, we have a meeting coming up. I think its next meeting's in March, so I'll know by probably not our next. Well, I can ask Jenna in advance of our February meeting for here, but no, we're not sure yet.
Got it. Any other questions for Patty? Okay, well, thank you. And again, we're glad to have you unpack. We don't have any other reports from other commissions, committees, or boards, so we'll move on to item 8, which is new business. The first item is a resolution to recommend approval of a contract with Aquatic Source, LLC, for the outdoor pool ultraviolet disinfection improvements project in the amount of $188,503. And we have Scott Spooner, Deputy Manager Maintenance, to discuss this with us. Hi, Scott.
Hello. So I'm here to request a resolution to recommend approval of a contract with Aquatic Source LLC for outdoor pool ultraviolet disinfection improvements. We put out an ITB, an invitation to bid, that was due in early January. For all these, we had one bid, one response to the bid from Aquatic Source. We went through and we discussed it, and we found that their bid was reasonable. The ultraviolet filters will go in at Fuller, Betts, and at Buer. Mac Pool had one when we did when we redid the Mac Pool in 2019. Mac had one installed there already. At the one at Mac did help when there were, in October of 2019, there was a cryptosporidium outbreak in Ann Arbor, and a lot of the indoor pools had to close down. Mac had to close down for one day, but was able to reopen after that, where other pools were closed for a much longer period of time until the county made sure that everything was clean and ready to go. At this time, the state does not require a UV filter on pools, but it probably will be required in the near future. So we're trying to get ahead of it. There was an information packet that went out from the Neptune Benson company, which is the manufacturer of this particular ultraviolet filter that we're going to be putting in. And I can answer as many questions as I can. I'm not an expert on them, but I am a little bit familiar with them.
Scott, is Aquatic Source the company that installed the ultraviolet light at MAC?
They are. They redid the whole mechanical room at MAC and installed the ultraviolet filter there. They've also worked with us on some of the other mechanical improvements at the other pools that we've been doing for the last couple of years. So we're familiar with their work and are confident that they can do a good job.
Great. Pravina, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, my question is about this technology. I'm just envisioning like Men in Black, press a button and it flash disinfects it. What is the process? Is it something that's has to be done nightly or after each use? And what does it kill?
Yeah, let me share. No, I can't. There we go. Okay, can you see my screen here?
We can.
Okay, so what it is this is the water pipe right here down, and then this is the actual filter. It's installed in line on the water, and then this is the like a kind of a stylized version of the filter, and it's basically some lights in the middle of the water stream. So as the water is going and circulating around the pool, these ultraviolet lights are shining through the water and killing whatever they're supposed to be killing, cryptosporidium and giardia and whatnot. It's a fairly compact system. I think for the most part, the only maintenance that we have is periodically changing the lights, the UV lights.
So not like Men in Black.
Not quite.
No, it'll be something that you won't even be aware of. The pipe that Scott's showing here, like in this example, it would be in the mechanical room of the pool as the water actually recirculates there.
Yep.
And comes out. There will be an improvement too for the user experience. What you'll find usually with the UV is that the clarity of the pool improves. And then for the indoor pools, it also, when you have that kind of like the chlorine smell, which is more prevalent on the indoor pools, it removes that essentially. So the experience will be better for users and they'll be safer. I think probably the timing on this is very good. Just understanding everything else we have really going on in the world right now. I think an added level of safety at the pools is a good thing, especially when I think Scott's right. I think in kind of a handful of years, I do think there will be a requirement or kind of a regulatory agency will insist that there be 2 levels of filtration at the pools. So this will actually work in conjunction with the chlorine at the pool. The chlorine use will also probably go down because of this added thing, but you are actually going to have 2 filtration systems so you have redundancy in place.
Any other questions or thoughts? Councilmember Hayner.
I just wanted to say, I think that's exciting. I know they kind of use a lot of energy, but not as much as, we may be able to offset that with our loss of some of the chemistry in that treatment train. I mean, if it's good enough for our wastewater treatment, our water treatment plant, it's good enough for our pools, I'm sure. It's kind of exciting to see this UV kind of making its way into the filtration water treatment markets around here. I know we put the one at water treatment plant that was a state mandate, right? And so I'd be shocked if that didn't get passed on very soon to pools. So I'm glad we're doing this. So hopefully it's something we've worked. Have we worked it into the budget already? It was already an ask?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Thanks.
Any other questions or thoughts or a motion to approve?
I would move to approve.
Okay,
Second?
great. All right, motion by Steve to approve the resolution, seconded by Pravina. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution to recommend approval of a contract with Aquatic Source LLC for the outdoor pool ultraviolet disinfection improvements project, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, resolution passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 8B is a resolution to recommend approval of a 3-year professional services agreement for playground improvement services for Parks and Recreation for a not to exceed annual amount of $250,000. And I believe Hillary Hansel will be joining us to discuss this. Hi, Hillary.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I just got added in here.
Okay, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course. So this is probably our third or fourth cycle of doing these 3-year standing contracts, similar to what we did recently for the architecture and engineering services. This one's a little different. It's for playground improvements. So it's design, but also construction and implementation, repairs. So this one before you is for a not to exceed amount of $250,000. That's per fiscal year. We don't have to spend it all. It is a slight increase. The previous one was $200,000, and some of the reasoning there was just thinking we have a couple projects that were backlogged due to COVID. So this will help us play catch up a little bit and give us a little more flexibility. But the contract that we would like to award to is to Michigan Recreational Construction. They've been the contractor doing this contract for the last few cycles as well. When we put out the RFP, we did get 2 responses. So there was another company that submitted a proposal, but we felt that Michigan Recreational Construction's response was still the most responsible and best qualified firm. So we feel very comfortable moving forward with them. They have just been a phenomenal contractor to work with, and you don't hear people say that very often, but they're great partners. They really work with us to solve problems. They stand by their work if there's issues that come up or things aren't working properly afterwards. We've just had a really great working relationship with them, and look forward to continuing that going forward. Michigan Recreational Construction also worked on the Universal Access Playground at Gallup Park, so they can do huge projects, and then they do lots of smaller kind of repairs and upgrades at existing playgrounds as well. So it's great. They have a range of services they can provide, and yeah, in general, we've just been very pleased with their work. So happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Great, thanks, Hillary. Any questions for Hillary or comments on the resolution?
And I should say that, this contract would be used for playground renovations that come up every year. So typically we might do 2 to 3 playground improvements. Again, it varies year by year, but that's, the main focus of this contract. And for each one of those playgrounds or projects that they do, they will submit a work statement. So we always get cost estimates. We collaborate with them on design. So everything's formalized for each project as well. But, again, it's same with the architecture and engineering contracts. By pre-qualifying them for this work, it makes it easier for us to work with them without having to go out to bid for each project.
Right.
Great.
No, I didn't have any particular questions about it. I was going to move for approval. I don't know if others have.
That would be great too. Yeah, if there's a motion for approval.
So moved.
Okay, great. Motion by Steve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rachel. Great. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor of the resolution to recommend approval of a 3-year professional services agreement for playground improvement services for Parks and Recreation for a not to exceed annual amount of $250,000, please say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the resolution passes. Thank you. And thanks, Hillary.
Thanks.
Okay, we will move on to commission proposed business. Item 9A is officer elections. Included in your packet is the bylaws for officer elections. And we have, so currently I chair PAC and Lauren is the vice chair. Lauren and I would be willing to continue in our roles, but I'd also be happy to entertain anyone else who's interested in the role. So we just need a nomination and a second and then a vote. So we'll begin with PAC chair first.
I'd nominate Paige. I think you're doing
Yeah.
great. So
Second.
you want to keep doing it? No quarrel from me.
Okay. Well, Steve, okay. All right. So I've been nominated by Steve to continue in the role. Thank you. And a second by Anne. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of voting?
Choosing
for-
you.
Okay. So yeah, all in favor of approving me to continue in the role of PAC chair, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So moving
Thank you,
on.
Paige.
Pardon?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's an honor to serve in the role. So thanks for approving me to continue. I appreciate it. Next up is PAC vice chair, which Lauren is currently filling that position. So is there enough?
I'll move and nominate Lauren.
Great, Patty, thank you. Okay, there's a motion for Lauren London to continue as the PAC vice chair, moved by Patty. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, seconded by, I heard Steve.
I got it first.
Okay, all right, Rachel, a second by Rachel. Okay, all in favor of approving Lauren London to be the PAC vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, well, great. Congratulations, Lauren.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so sorry my camera is off. I really appreciate it, and it's a joy to serve.
Thank you. I did also want to bring up one other thing at this time. So it's not a formal election, but we do typically have someone on PAC who serves in the role of finance. And as most of you know, Bob Gallardi was in that position for quite a while. He did a fantastic job. He was typically somewhat, Bob would typically meet with Colin and I prior to any budget reviews that came to PAC, and at other times periodically, just to be a PAC person to lend an extra set of eyes to anything budget related. So Bob's term ended in May, and so that our finance role has been vacant for a little while. So you don't have to say something right now, but something to consider is we'd like to fill that role. So if anyone has an interest in that, please let Colin and I know. And it's, I don't know if I can, Colin, if you want to speak to the time commitment at all. It's not an extensive time commitment out of our regular.
No, I would say kind of over the years, the main time commitment is March and April. There would be kind of a couple of times that I would meet with Bob before the budget came to PAC. We would go over it sort of in kind of a higher level of detail and speak through it. And there'd be questions that he would come with, which I would find were very helpful in advance. So I think maybe kind of a handful of hours, March and April. Outside of that, what we would occasionally do quarterly reports. We haven't done that at PAC for a while, in part because everything is so up in the air because of COVID. It hasn't really seemed to do kind of a budget report, has not really made sense. But I think we would start those again. Again, it would be something that I would review with the person before the meeting. So maybe an hour every other quarter. Lastly, would occasionally be a conversation if we had a resolution come in which required the use of fund balance. I would want to kind of explain the rationale behind that and explain where the fund balance was at and just kind of speak that through too. So overall, a little bit March and April, and then every other quarter on average.
Mhm. So again, keep that in mind, and if anyone is interested in that position, please let Colin and myself know.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We can certainly come back to it in a month or in 2 months. I mean, it would be handy if anybody is interested. It would obviously be a good time of year to do it since we are heading into the meat of the budget. So.
Okay. Item 9B is the Park Advisory Commission policy agenda items. So as I understand it, this is the time of year when City Council Policy Agenda Committee works on identifying requirements from boards and commission to help prioritize initiatives. As the Parks Advisory Commission, we have our initiatives set out for us and our priorities set out for us in the PROS plan. And so in the attachment for this item, you see that we've laid out our PROS plan goals. We took this approach last time, and this is what I'd recommend doing again. I'd like to open this up for discussion, but Colin, do you want to give any other background or explanation for this item?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was you really kind of covered it. It is a item that the clerk's office reaches out on, I think, to see maybe if they can get information from other commissions that perhaps don't meet with the regularity that we do, or other commissions without kind of a master plan that already has a guide and goals in it. So, I mean, I think this is a very reasonable response to the ask.
Are there any questions or comments on this? Councilmember Grant.
Oh, yeah. I think I get to be Julie here, right?
Julie.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm not on the policy committee, so I think this is a, totally reasonable approach, but just know that this doesn't mean that this group couldn't ask the policy agenda committee to advocate through council for something at the state level, which is mostly what the policy agenda committee looks at. Are there things that, so if there's something COVID related that's coming up with, something that the Department of Health and Human Services is doing, what have you, if there's something, that this group wanted to support and have council support at the state level to work with our lobbyist for something or other, please, I think this is a very reasonable approach in line with the PROS plan, but know that is open to this group, and of course encouraged if there's something that we as council members can be helpful for in that kind of advocacy.
Yeah, I could see that just as an example of that potentially, as we move ahead with connection for Bandimere to Barton, if that's a project that continues to move. The interaction with the railroad, MDOT, all of these are things which could certainly require conversations to be had that could be helpful through, I think, exactly what you are referring to there, I believe, Councilmember Grant.
Any other thoughts on this?
The PROS plan, when was that developed?
This last iteration was 2016, and we'll actually be starting the process of it again probably later on this year.
5-year cycle, right?
Yeah. It's a little bit kind of misleading. The date on it says 2020, but the reality is it was actually approved by council at a later date, and from that approved time that we have the 5 years running from it. So.
Councilmember Hayner?
Oh, that's actually what I was going to ask Colin. Last Friday, we spoke about updating some plans, and it was pros and something else, but I can't find my notes on it. Do you recall when we were on that little, on the tour, Rachel was there, and you and I talked about some plans that needed updating? Were you referring to pros only,
Um,
or was it pros in this policy you were talking about, policy agenda?
no, to be honest, I would assume it was a pros plan. I'm not actually remembering it at the moment. There could have been the criteria for acquisition, which is in a part of the pros plan.
Yeah, maybe that was it, because it was when you and I and Remy were walking west there, back to the cars. So I think that might have been it. So I mean, I was on policy agenda last 2 years, and it's nice. It's broken. The agendas, our agenda is broken up into different departments or different areas of focus, and what we ask our representatives and our lobbyists to come up with and push at the state level. And I mean, if we can think of anything, let's make sure it gets in there, because there's a lot of good stuff in there, and I feel like we've actually had some folks higher up listen to us about some of these things. So it's definitely an important document that the council approves.
And this is something that comes back to us every year, correct, Colin? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions or a motion to approve?
This is Lauren. I would move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Lauren. Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Seconded by Patty. Great. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the Park Advisory Commission policy agenda items, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the items are approved. Thank you. All right, item 9C is the one we added, which is to extend the duration of the Winchell renaming subcommittee for 6 months. Again, the resolution when we formed this subcommittee, the resolution was to have it for 6 months, which would expire February 3rd. I'll give Colin a chance to speak to this, but from what I understand, the subcommittee is still working on coming up with naming options, and so they need some more time. So Colin, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, at the outset, we were delayed starting because of me, frankly. I had a couple of conflicts with meetings that we had set up so as a result, we got off to a later start. We have had a couple of good meetings. One we had quite near the holidays, and really just actually trying to get everybody back together for an upcoming meeting when it's a combination of staff and commissioners and the public. It's not easy to find a time. So things are taking a little bit longer than anticipated. So we're just asking for an extension of the date to get the work done. I mean, I do think from kind of the last meeting, and I would be interested if Commissioner Skiles or Borsdorf, if either of you would like to share your thoughts too. I did think that there was a good conversation amongst the committee about maybe what we're looking for as a potential park renaming. As we've kind of started the process of looking at people for whom you could name a park. There are a lot of exceptional people in the community, a lot that have not had something actually named for them before. And I think there's kind of a desire amongst the committee to look that way and celebrate somebody that has perhaps not had that opportunity previously. So still at work, we just need more time.
Great.
Yep.
Rachel.
I'll add into that, Colin, just a little bit, because I think you were a little too modest. I think the group is together. We're meeting. We've already identified several possible names that we're sort of considering and kind of working through that process of having the committee itself come up with sort of a list of ideas that then goes out to the larger community to sort of winnow down from there. So we're well underway. It's just a matter of getting a little more time to sort of finalize the steps that are already underway.
Great. Councilmember Hayner, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, so I wanted to throw a name in the hat, as it were. I had some residents reach out to me and ask if there was any, if they reached out to everybody on council, but I thought I'd bring it to parks because they had mentioned parks, things like naming a park bench and so on in there. And I've been asked to look into some way to honor the first African-American poet laureate of the United States, Robert Hayden, who lived here and taught here in Ann Arbor, was born in Detroit, grew up in Detroit. And he lived actually on Gardner Avenue, which is in, sort of it's sort of north. And if you know Gardner, it's Gardner and Ferndale come together there. And so it's not really close to Winchell Park, unfortunately. It's not far from it, but it's not right on top of it. And that was his neighborhood when he lived here in Ann Arbor and taught at the university. And it's just, I just would like to put his name in the hat, and I can forward the email that the nice folks sent me about it. And I basically replied to them and said, I'll mention it at PAC because I know there's park renaming opportunities and things. And so, it might be somebody worth looking at. I mean, I can attest to the high quality of the man's poetry. It's incredible. And he has this interesting history. And if you see his picture, look him up on Wikipedia or Google or something. If you've lived around here a while, you might recognize him. I mean, he died in the 80s, but he had a very distinctive set of glasses that he wore. And he just, it's just an opportunity to perhaps, look at a naming opportunity, and Winchell Park might be a great place for that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I guess the best thing to do would be to forward the inquiry I got from these folks, maybe to PAC. I don't know if that's appropriate, but, or Steve to you, or
probably to Colin, because the PAC isn't
okay.
this yet as a whole.
I think I might have sent it already, but.
Yeah, I don't remember when I copied them, if I copied anybody on my response to them. I basically said, sure, I'll look into what the city, because it isn't really we don't have like a monuments committee at city council or anything. So there's really, I think, PAC or the Public Art Commission or something like that is as close as we get to providing opportunities for that sort of thing. And I know we did, like we did the Mr. Jewett's Memorial there at Coleman Jewett's Memorial and so on. And so there's been things like that in working with Art Commission and other groups. So I just, I'll forward that to you, Colin. And
yeah, I would be happy
to. Man, his poetry is amazing, and he just has a real interesting story. So
I'd be happy to have a look at it. I imagine part of the conversation that we may continue on at Winchell is to explore if there are other parks that we should be looking at, either for the reason that we are looking at Winchell, or just if there are other parks that have an opportunity to be named something a little bit more interesting than what kind of comes to mind right now for me is Southeast Area Park. While geographically insightful, it does very little to celebrate anything as far as I can tell. So maybe there are some options out there to take a look at as we move forward.
I'm happy to report, if you haven't already seen that, the Google mapping already has Graydon Park on there properly. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It didn't take long. I don't know how they do those updates, but it happened. So.
So we don't have a resolution for this. I would just ask for a motion, a second, and a voice vote to extend the Winchell Park renaming subcommittee. So is there a motion from anyone?
How can we move it? How long are we moving it for?
For 6 months. So to August 1st.
Okay, cool.
I still move a motion to extend to
great
6 months from that.
Okay, moved by Pravina, seconded by Steve. So again, this would be to extend the subcommittee for 6 months to allow them to continue working through August 1st. So motion by Pravina, seconded by Steve. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Well, thank you again to Steve and Rachel for volunteering to be on that committee and representing us, and thanks to Colin for spearheading that. Councilmember Hayner, did you have any other park naming things you wanted to bring up at this time, or that was?
No, that was really it. I've had a couple people ask me about memorial opportunities over the last couple of years, and also about looking at can we get some kind of art in the parks program going? But I think the best thing for me to do is maybe talk to our arts rep, who I think is Travis now. Travis Redina is our council. So I'll just reach out to him about it. I've had some residents contact me and say, hey, I know this sculptor, he's really, he or she is really awesome. And I mean, a couple different, 3 or 4 different people. And is there any program that the city has where they do art in the parks, art in the neighborhoods, art downtown, whatever? And I said, well, that's more of an arts commission thing. And so I've just I've been asked to go tour some of these artist studios, and they must be decent sculptures or something. I haven't really seen any of them yet, but I'm an arts person, so I'm going to take the opportunity to tour these studios. But I just think it's something in the long term to look at. Maybe we can do some kind of work with our arts commission and do arts in the parks or something like that. I know we did the canoe thing. So that's all. I just wanted to mention that it's come to me from residents.
Yeah, so I can just give a little bit of an update on that. The timing of it is actually pretty good. So over the years, there have been a number of different art installations in parks that come about as a part of a capital project. West Park, for example, has some sculptures there. We have sculptures along the river. We're actually having some staff meet, I think it's next week, with the Art Commission to see about incorporating some level of public art into certain capital projects for the parks. I think it is just a good opportunity for kind of a good partnership. We talked a little while ago at PAC about considering when we redo the basketball courts, could we do something artistic with murals on them? And is there kind of a way to involve and include the Art Commission as we move forward pursuing that? So there is a conversation coming up between staff and the Art Commission to see where opportunities may lie on that. And then in terms of the contribution or the memorial benches and things like that, we certainly have a program in parks that is pretty active with that. It'll be something that comes to PAC too in the near future, because we have been looking to see kind of how we can rework that. But there are opportunities for people to donate to have a memorial bench or picnic table or other ways to commemorate them.
All right, thanks for bringing that up, Councilmember Hayner. It sounds like it's good timing.
Yep.
Moving along, item 10 is we do not have a closed session today. And Ruth, welcome. We're glad to.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
Welcome, Patty.
Yes.
You're a rep.
We have two reps, and Patty gave us her first report today.
Excellent.
So, yes.
Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. You're just at the tail end, but we're glad to have you. Item 11 is our second public comment period. Do we have anyone on the phone?
No callers.
No callers. Okay. Thank you. Item 12, communications are included in your packet, and we stand adjourned at 5:22. So thanks everyone for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, Colin, can I ask you a question real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So I have somebody who I thought they were going to call in, but they said they didn't think I could get out of work right like at 3:50 or whatever. I got a message from them. They keep asking me about, they have concerns about the snow plowing that happens in the golf courses. I think we talked about this before. And I told them that
can I give you a call about this tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do that. I think I've told them.